For me, there's a simple rule in politics. Never ever be surprised by what happens in politics.
The face of truth is open. The eyes of truth are bright. The lips of truth are ever closed. The head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward. The gaze of truth is straight. Truth has neither fear nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice are only its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle of life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is the cross. Wisdom's message is its rod. The sign of truth is Christ, and the soul of truth is God. Life of truth is eternal. Immortal is its past. Power of truth shall endure. Truth shall hold to the last.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They have to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living room. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Dennery has been plunged into sadness. Serious accident occurring just before 9 o'clock this morning. You'll be hearing from the MP. A house was destroyed, damaged, not destroyed, but damaged in the process. You'll be hearing from the homeowner. You'll also be hearing from Stacey Joseph of the St. Lucia Fire Service. And we have a whole lot more in store for you between now and 2 o'clock on yet another edition of NewsSpin. You'll be able to call at 452-2979, 452-2979. Your WhatsApp calls and messages, 716-2026, 716-2026. And Kimani will be going through some of your comments in the chat room. So there was this tragic incident which occurred in Dennery this morning just before 9 o'clock. And freak accident as well, because normally you are in an ambulance, and for you that's just the safest place to be, because you're heading most probably to a health institution, and that is to have whatever medical condition that you're suffering with addressed. Well, an elderly male, 79 years old, was being taken to the OKEU hospital, accompanied by a relative. You had the ambulance driver, and then you had an emergency responder, a female, all suffering injuries. And the driver had to be extricated from the vehicle. He has been hospitalized. The female responder has been hospitalized as well. And also the female was accompanying the elderly gentleman. But we have a report from Stacey Joseph of the St. Lucia Fire Service.
It is confirmed that at approximately 8:36 a.m. on Wednesday, 6th September 2023, one of the St. Lucia Fire Service's responding ambulances was involved in a crash incident at Hospital Road, quarter of Dennery. The ambulance was at the time undertaking an emergency response with a patient to the Dennery Hospital. Unfortunately, it is confirmed that the elderly patient has since passed. The cause is unknown at this time. At present, the cause of the crash incident also remains unknown. Investigations are ongoing to identify the cause of the incident. The management and staff of the St. Lucia Fire Service extends sincere condolences to the family and friends of the deceased. We also take this time to empathize with the family whose home was impacted during this incident. The St. Lucia Fire Service is committed to the highest level of safety in all of its operations and remains resolute to rendering emergency medical service at industry standard in quality and timeliness to all communities in St. Lucia from our various fire stations.
Stacey Joseph of the St. Lucia Fire Service. We now hear from the MP for Dennery South, Mr. Alfred Prosper, who is also the island's agriculture minister.
It's arrogance is very unfortunate. The driver of the vehicle is my good friend, he's a club member, and I'm just happy that he's okay. I'm hoping that he will survive. I was told that he had some injuries to the leg and the face, and I'm hoping he'll be okay. I was told that there is a patient, he's dead. As to whether he was dead before or after, I'm not sure. But I want to leave it as that. And I want the fire service to be making the first report.
What about your resident, your constituent? He himself suffered damage also to his home?
As a driver, as I said.
The homeowner?
But I don't even know who's the homeowner.
Okay, but he suffered damages to his home.
Yes.
So what can you tell us?
We will deal with that afterwards.
What
right
is
now,
the process
right
that you
now,
should follow?
I have no idea what the process is. Right now, my focus is on the driver, hoping that his life is safe. And my sympathies to the family of the deceased. And I just want to leave it as this for the time being.
MP for Dennery South, Mr. Alfred Prosper, speaking earlier today with reporters at the scene of that incident. The owner of the home, a section of that home was damaged. He also been speaking with reporters, and understandably so, very irate and disturbed by this morning's tragic incident once again, which not resulted in anybody being killed, because we don't know the circumstances under which the 79-year-old male succumbed. But we know that he died. And also a number of people were injured in the process. Again, the driver of the ambulance, he sustained injuries. Likewise, a female emergency responder and another female was accompanying the deceased at the time of this incident. Let's hear now from the home owner.
When the election come, you come and try and bribe people. Or try and bribe me now. Try and bribe me now to fix my house, sir. You check what I'm showing you? You come in there, man looking for work. Man looking for work, man not getting work. You check what I'm showing you? And then again, look, you go and give an old inexperienced driver work. And look at the damage. Look at the damage. So how is that right? And then for you to say, it's the community that have this, the community that have that. No, sir. There's a paver way for the people. Okay. Also, guys, you join your money, you sit down at your home, they're comfortable there. Your legs up. And watch that. Watch me there. Where are you going to sleep tonight? You check what I'm showing you? And then for you as an officer to tell me, don't worry about that. Leave that open. You can sleep them and die nothing. And then at the end of the day, in the night, there was I sleeping in my bed there. With my child and his mother. You check what I'm showing you? People coming in my house and they're carrying my things. That is life. That is life. If you want to make a difference, guys, you see when them things happen, you have to take immediate action. That is how I see it. You check all now, so it mash up there. That's a call the construction crew, guys, sir. Call the construction crew, guys, sir. You come and fix my thing for me, Papa.
The owner of a home which was damaged earlier today in Dennery as a result of an accident involving an ambulance. We hope that the authorities will move quickly to bring some kind of relief to this gentleman, and attempts will be made to ensure that he is given somewhere to rest his head during the course of today, this evening, and the days to come, along with the rest of his family. We hope that this will not be a long, drawn-out process. Your calls right now at 452-2979, 452-2979. WhatsApp calls and messages 716-2026, 716-2026, as we discuss the issues in the news and matters of concern to you. Good afternoon to you, Kimani. Anything to report from the chat room?
Good afternoon, Tim. Someone says, I agree with you, bro. Another comment, so sad today. As an ex-firewoman, I feel so hurt. I hope and pray that with this trauma that all involved get the necessary support and counseling needed by the government of St. Lucia. Another comment in the chat room, someone says contact the insurance company immediately. Another comment, condolences to the family of the deceased. But that is about it in the chat room, Tim.
Thank you so much. Kimani will be returning to you momentarily. We have a call. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Tim, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm okay, caller. How about you?
Not too bad. And good afternoon, Kimani.
Hi, good afternoon.
Tim, it's very unfortunate with your headline there that an ambulance, something so tragic happened. It's really unfortunate. Let me say condolences to the family, and that is something we often like to quickly to say. But Tim, you don't realize right now there is an outcry for work in St. Lucia? You have not realized that?
Yes, but that has been the norm over several years now, from time, immemorial, caller.
Because there was another video when a young man was complaining about there is no work in the country and what you want people to do, and people not getting work, and then it's those ministers having jobs and they're not getting paid. So it's almost like a temptation. Something is building up. I only hope that the Prime Minister move very quickly on that, because you cannot have a population so frustrated, stressed out with bills there and bills there, and when they get up in the morning, they don't have nothing to do. I mean, those that have the work, I'm working, people, others are working, but it's just not looking good. And it's young people. Some of them they want to work. You could see they're willing. They want to work. They desperately want to do something. But if you don't have work in the country, that is a big problem.
It is, and it has been a big problem for a while now, particularly unemployment among the nation's young people. And when that happens, very often you have a brain drain. Those young people decided to leave St. Lucia, head on to what they deem to be greener pastures, or you could have a situation where young people start to get very restless and get involved in all kind of deviant behavior.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I was about to say. I mean, you need to put work. If you put work in the country, and then you realize there is crime will remain the same way, well, okay, you would say, well, these people did not want to do this or didn't want to do that. But then you need to try and do something. I mean, already 2.5 years, going to 3 years in government, and you have not seen no construction, nothing. And I recall, Tim, that is why sometimes when you say this, they say, oh, you're so political. I recall when the former administration came into government, there was work all over the place. As in fact, the South was one of the area that was targeted in terms of the construction activity. You have the airport, St. Jude's, and you have this there, and you have this company, from Wasco taking the water all the way to Grace to Viewfort. So you have things happening all over the place. So persons have choice as to whether they want to work or they want to go into gangs or drug illegal activity or not. But you have not done nothing. And I repeat, and then sadly, if you go to PI Srizel right now, you would see big banners, red flag, I think that was on over the weekend, put all on the poles everywhere. I thought it was an election eve. And you still want more seat to win. You're still looking for seat to put into misery. When you cannot control what you have, you cannot deliver, you cannot do nothing, but you hoping to win another election again. So what would St. Lucian do? Huh? I am appealing to the Prime Minister, especially our young, frustrated young people that desperately want to do something. Some of them have the tools, they're good in the construction activity, they are mason, they're carpenter. They desperately need something to do, because Jugba has something, it says in Creole. And sometimes we just laugh when he said that. La main vide oblige jeune à travailler pour faire. Whether it is a good thing they will do with it, or it's a bad thing. Tim, I thank you.
Thank you so much. WhatsApp message, somebody says, it seems that the Ministry of Education officials heard the cries of the teachers at the Dennery Primary School today. They toured the educational institution, and I'm waiting patiently to find out what is the way forward. Touring is not all. We need action. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air.
Yeah, Timothy, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon to you, caller.
Continue on that unemployment thing where that your first caller just left out. Timothy, idle mind is a devil company. Timothy, when you tell me, Timothy, as a government that come in, Timothy, you got so many projects on the way. And Timothy, you just stop all these projects. So many hundreds of young men are not working. Timothy, you know the amount of robbery that has occurred on a daily basis, and people just seem not to report that anymore.
Because they believe it's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. Timothy, I want you to pass that road there. When you go to Tiroche there and you to Gendo, when you're going over to Kako.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy, you had this young, vibrant, and let me tell you something. All these parliamentarians in the St. Lucia Labour Party, I am telling these people that blood is on these people's shoulder, and these people, I tell them there's a life after politics. For you to have these young guys from Fresh Start, these are guys that went and take loans and buy equipment, Timothy. These guys were gainfully employed, and they had St. Lucians gainfully employed all around the country. There's another one up in that's down in the Union area there. I cannot remember the name of that company, but that's another company. I think that person is some Gill relative or something. So, and to see all these people, equipment just packed there. I mean, you have these 15 guys sitting there. None of you all, when you all cabinet meeting, is not breaking your all heart to see that these loans these guys go and take to buy this equipment, and this equipment just there rotting. I'm talking about Fresh Start, Timothy. I mean, these are St. Lucians. Look at so many people that went and purchased trucks because the sea construction was booming. And right now, these people are not getting nothing. Just one man that's getting everything. And when he cannot start a project, what that project going to do? It's going to be on hold until he can start it. I mean, that's a government somebody elect. These guys don't have a conscience. That is why after politics, some of these guys, sorry to say it, they just end up, some of them just end up in the state there, through illness, and and all uncurable diseases, I mean, you all don't have a conscience. These are young St. Lucians that went and take loan, bring down equipment. You understand? Somebody might say, well, under the previous they were getting, but the one that's getting everything now was also getting under the previous administration. You put so many young people out of a job, and if you check, you say about 300, you have to multiply that by 3 or by 4. These are people who had their children, their mothers, their fathers depending on them, or fathers had their children. I mean, you're 15 guys, you're meeting in cabinet. That's not on your conscience, man. That's not burning you all. Eh? To see the sake of whenever Labour Party is in power, that is just how it is in that country. That's a whole party that hate, These fellas term that be with hate in them. Hate, I mean, to just drive around and say that every time I drive through that thing and I see these young people, equipment packed there, it hurts me, it hurt me. It hurts me to see that young, vibrant solutions, and these guys were working so well. These guys are working so well, and you just have these guys' equipment just packed there. And if these guys have loan pretty soon, what's going to happen? They can't pay the bank when they take it. You all don't have a conscience. And when you all finish, one set of people surviving in that country, one set of people, and that's the St. Lucia you all saying you all love. You're going to say you're putting people first. You need to change that term when you talk about putting people worse. I mean, come on, man. PIU as a leader. A man that almost went down on his knees, begging people, is not going to be like the others. It's not going to be like that. I'm not surprised at Philip Pierre. I don't live too far from him, and when we were growing up as little children, that is just his attitude. I'm not surprised at him. Not surprised at him at all. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for calling. We have another call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you. This is NewsSpin.
Yeah.
You're on the air. Hello.
Hey, Timothy.
Good afternoon to you,
Timothy,
sir. Yes, sir.
My middle name is Timothy.
Ah, okay. You're a great guy then.
Like that type one. Timothy, I have one for you that I don't like.
What's that?
Anytime somebody talk about Trump or anything like that, you just say that people are St. Lucia not interested in that. I understand you to an extent, but to an extent, the more you learn about the world is the more you learn about yourself. So I think we need to stop like that, the really nearsightedness. Like if it doesn't deal with getting a bread and butter now, then it's not valuable. But anyways, you familiar with Sarko, the reason why Sarko Lewis got a Nobel Prize?
For economics?
Yeah, no, I mean, do you know what economic model he come up with that caused him to win the Nobel Prize?
It doesn't have to do with what? Foreign direct investment?
So what was his economic model for small island developing states.
Yeah.
So the guy basically is a St. Lucian. He won the Nobel Prize and he gave like a whole solution for unemployment and all the problems we have there. So the solution he gave, okay, so the problem is usually we say any resource you have, a lot of it is always best. But with developing states, rural countries like India, St. Lucia, whatever, we don't have, we have excess of the human resource. So what happens is people never really have to raise the prices they pay their workers because if SNS fire 10 people, they have 20 people outside waiting for a job. So they're not really required. There's no economic reason for them to increase salaries. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always an excess in labor. So what Sir Lewis said the solution in his economic model is to, so if you look around, there are business owners, they have a whole bunch of people that are naturally entrepreneurs and they moving forward. So his thing was to give these people loans, give these people loans, give them access to learn, give them the stuff that they need. Now, because these people already have a natural entrepreneurial background, and then they get in cheap labor, what would happen is they would hire more people, and because the labor is cheap, they would make way more money, and then their business would grow even more. And then what they need to do, they need to hire more people. So eventually, gradually, the excess labor would be absorbed into the workforce. And because the excess labor is being absorbed into the workforce, then labor now becomes scarce, and scarcity brings about value. So now because the labor force is shrinking, you have to pay people more because now you need them more. So that was his economic model for getting rid of the excess labor force. Mind you, that is a gradual process. It's not something where you do in one term. You don't even do that in 2 terms because it's a process. Absorbing so many people into the labor force is a lot of work. But like I'm just saying, we have a guy that won a Nobel Prize for exactly that. So why not use our own guy and his economic principle to help us out? You understand?
But very, very often, such models do not always work without they being tailored to suit certain conditions and certain realities. They have to be adjusted somewhat. Because maybe what prevailed during the time of Sir Arthur Lewis might not be the same situation that we're experiencing right now.
So specifically, he got the Nobel Prize for small island developing states.
Mm-hmm.
He was a St. Lucian man. So you'd think his research, a lot of his research did come from St. Lucia itself.
Yeah.
You understand? And I mean, it's literally small island, excessive labor force, creating jobs. And I don't want to say that because it will, from just an economic lesson, go into a political thing. But Daphne, Carbot, providing loans to Carbot, using the money to build roads, creating employment, absorbing people, call centers, absorbing people, hotel, absorbing people. All of that is absorbing people into the labor force. I mean, if you notice when Royalton opened, there was a large number of people that got jobs immediately.
Yeah.
And then from what I heard was like Sandals had to step up their game because people were leaving Sandals to go to
Royalton.
Mm-hmm. You understand? So that's a clear and what they have to do, they have to raise salaries because now the workers, I'm not saying they mistreated, but let's just say the workers the workers that were undervalued became way more valuable, forcing them to create incentives to retain their current workers. You understand? So You shrink labor force, you create demand amongst the employers, and then that will force the employers to increase better value the employees.
But don't you think that
Understand? So,
we need to have a better trained workforce as well? And that is where the education system comes into play. And for so long now, you've been hearing minister after minister of education saying that they will be reviewing the curriculum, and that is yet to be done.
Well, that is just besides reviewing the curriculum. I mean, convent and college, kudos to the students who go there. But we kind of put it in a way where we look down on children that are inclined to do trades.
Yeah.
So you go about, you could build next to a perfect cabinet, but you cannot read to a certain level. You cannot do math to a certain level, which in truth, whether we like to admit it or not, probably 5% of people that ever learn the level of math we're teaching actually use it in their, they use it in their day-to-day life. In terms of teaching them, just doing math in general, assisting your brain, like it's like basically brain exercise. But there's a lot of things we don't use and we make people think they're stupid for not being able to do it. So, for example, we award children for placing first, but how often do we award most improved?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When most improved, like, okay, so you go to a school like Garnier, where they'll take a student that cannot read, cannot write, cannot do maths, and they live in these doors with probably 3 CXCs, but they can put tiles, they can fix up Predator engines, they can build cabinets, they're creating positive, like people that will how do you say that, bring something to society when they live. And yet still we don't give them the praise we would give a college and a convent. But then they're creating people that society desperately need more of, but we don't. So it's also like a general mindset. Another thing I want to comment on is when I could recall Rick Wayne commented one time when we were talking about crime, and the person was saying about the way we raise our children. And I did a psychology course, and basically what I understood was you can't raise children right if you, the parent, don't know how to raise the children right. Like you could only do your best of knowledge.
Yeah.
So in behavioral science, sucking finger, if you everybody know a child that's sucking finger, right? Do you know sucking finger as an adult is an indicator that you were neglected as a child?
That's what the science says?
A very solid indicator. Yes. Sucking finger is an indication that you were neglected. It doesn't have to mean you were not fed or whatever, but there's a certain level of love. Because sucking finger is a natural thing babies go to for comfort. But then it will naturally be replaced with love from parents, love from peers, whatever. And they would leave it, they would just break out of it naturally. But because they don't get that love, they still revert to that security of sucking finger. Now, what we do when the child's sucking finger, we give them licks, causing them to further look for comfort in their fingers. So you beat a child for sucking finger, you're making them suck finger more. Because they go to it for a defense. It's a defense mechanism. Suck finger, looking for comfort. So there's a lot of things we're doing, and we need to, it's just beyond, and we need to start focusing on them, because yes, people get shot and whatever, and that's the immediate thing. But Timothy, if you get up and you feel like drinking coconut water, you say, if I plant a coconut tree, even though I plant a grafted nut, it will take me 4 years. So you go ahead and you keep on buying coconut water. At the end of 4 years, you will still have the first for coconut water. You'll not have the coconut tree, and you'll still have to continue buying.
Yeah.
So my thing is, you take money, you buy coconut water because there is immediate need and want for coconut water. Simultaneously, planting a coconut tree, buy a house. So we're dealing with crime now because we need more officers, we need more vehicles, we need more people to take part. But we also, at the same time, need to start training our children right, because we'll continue, they will grow old and will still be a very reactive society and not proactive, because that's what everything we do. SSU come after the fact. Everything happens after the fact. It's always responsive. So we need to start being proactive, teaching parents how to take care of their children. And we abuse without love. Licks without love, discipline without love is just abuse. I don't care what nobody say. Half of the people in bodily take endless licks just as the other person, and they still in bodily. So that idea of discipline and then people will think about licks, that's crap. So we need to start loving our children, and one, we need to understand how children operate, because a lot of the times we sit down and we say, oh, these people just down the block, they cannot come up with a business idea. When we kill that child ability to explore and that curiosity, we kill it as a child, because instead we discipline them in the right way, we beat them for everything wrong they do when they were just exploring. So subconsciously, they stop being creative because they get licks every time they try and do something creative. And then it translates into an adult where they need to depend on somebody to create a job for them. So you see, we need to take care of our young, we need to take care of the old.
All right, sir. Always a pleasure hearing from you, sir, calling all the way from the diaspora. You are watching NewsSpin on our NewsSpin Facebook page, as well as on YouTube, and listening to the broadcast on Power 97.9 FM. In a moment, I'll be speaking with an individual. He has a talk show that will be debuting very soon on a particular radio station. Stand by for that discussion.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Lazarus's Funeral Home is here for you. Lazarus's Private Cemetery offers a peaceful resting place for your loved ones. With tranquil settings, visitation, and reflection, we believe in the compassionate care of all our departed loved ones. Lazarus's Private Cemetery, let us help you create a final resting place. Make it special. Make it Lazarus's Funeral Home, your friend in a time of need. Payment plans are available for tombs. Call us in Vidbuta at 452-7491 or in New Dock Road, VA4, 454-6555.
Introducing the new LuSelect Virtual Service Desk, where one click is your access to every service. From My Account to Streetlight reports, requests for payment arrangements to settle arrears, change of name and address. Easy online forms give you access from anywhere and at any time. Every service you need at your fingertips. Go to our website, luselect.com, and click on the Virtual Service Desk widget. LuSelect's Virtual Service Desk. Every solution at your fingertips.
You asked for it and you got it. A quicker way to pay your bills online. It's fast, secure, and easy to use. No registration, no additional fees. Flow is now offering FastPay, an online service that allows you to settle your bills in less than 2 minutes. Need a receipt? FastPay will send it to your email immediately. Use FastPay now for convenience, safety, and efficiency at discoverflow.co/fastpay. Flow is keeping you connected.
Night Meds is your dependable neighborhood pharmacy. You'll notice that upon entry, you are greeted by caring professional staff, attentive to your every need. Your prescriptions are always treated with a high degree of confidentiality, and we pride ourselves on providing speedy, efficient service. We carry a wide array commonly requested over-the-counter products, and our prices are very competitive. We offer blood pressure testing, blood sugar, and cholesterol testing. We're open to fill your prescriptions Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Come visit Salu's gas station on the Miku Highway or call us at 572-6840 or WhatsApp 461-6840 for more information. NightMeds Pharmacy. We are your community med store.
Automotive art is a place to start.
Automotive art is now bigger and better with bargains galore. Automotive art has expanded. With new exciting products and increased shopping comfort, we welcome you to visit. Celebrate with us and take advantage of our specials. New tires starting at $129, 25% off all tools and accessories, up to 75% off rims, BOGO specials, car care bundles, and other bargains galore. Automotive art, bigger and better.
Information coming from the National Workers Union. Almost 300 clerical and technical employees working with Bank of St. Lucia in branches located in Gros-Islet, Castries, Soufrière, Vieux-Fort, and Choiseul are now benefiting from a new industrial accord negotiated between the bank and the National Workers Union. The new industrial regime makes provisions for increases in vehicle and mileage allowances, meal and subsistence allowances, as well as temporary and permanent transfer allowances. Employees will also benefit from an overall retroactive general wage increase of 11%, along with a lump sum 2 weeks' pay. The duration of the industrial accord spans 2 trienniums, 2019 to 2022 and 2022 to 2025. The Secretary General of the NWU, Mr. Haywood, and BOSL Senior Manager, Human Resources, Benelva Okilia-Moses, have indicated that the company has agreed to implement the said benefits within the industrial accord to satisfy the interests of all parties involved. The documents were signed by representatives of the Bank of St. Lucia and the National Workers Union in the presence of officials from the Department of Labor. So employees of the Bank of St. Lucia, well, good news for you. And of course, we have to applaud your representatives. How many workers in St. Lucia can sing that happy tune, receiving an increase in their wages and increased benefits, increased and improved working conditions? Congratulations, all concerned. Kimani, what's in the chat room?
In the chat room, someone says, while infrastructure work can help the unemployment situation, what you need as a government is long-term employment options, jobs where people are engaged for 25 years plus. Infrastructure repair cannot do that. Another comment, your quickest and best method of jump-starting any economy is to invest in capital projects. The multiplier effect benefits a large demographic, from the engineers to the sex worker. Trade persons, hardwares, concrete supply companies.
Everybody eating a bread.
The banks, these same workers are building and extending their homes, purchasing vehicles, furniture. The women are buying clothes, shopping for food, and doing their hair and nails. The multiplier is endless. The country also benefits from improved infrastructure. Another comment, agriculture in a smart way is the only option to employ a large portion of St. Lucians who do not want to be trained. Someone says the education of our people is of utmost importance. Investors also look at the literacy rate. That is one of the factors. All major projects are at a standstill, SMH. This means there will be a lot more expense with an attempt is made to continue these projects. Someone says, that's right, my boy. I hope the powers that be step in immediately to do what they have to do so you can sleep comfortably in your home. Another comment, we need serious quality assurance programs instituted and maintained in all those emergency and healthcare services in St. Lucia. We need to know that equipment is fit for purpose and can meet the standards of all end users. Let's see what else we have in the chat room. Someone says, I don't know about PJP, but I would invest in agriculture, number one, then education in renewable energy, engineering, etc. The rest of the world is leaving us behind. Another comment in the chat room. Congrats to the bank employees, but guess what? LOL, the consumers will be picking up that bill.
All right, we have online somebody I want to speak with on a particular issue. Good afternoon to you, Father Albert. How are you?
Good afternoon, Chief. I am doing well, thank you.
Okay. I understand that you'll be debuting your talk show tomorrow evening right here on Power 97.9. That's tomorrow from 6:30, and it is called What's Your Point? How did you come up with that name?
Well, in discussion, with a few people, especially, the director of the station, we came up with that name, because the program, what we want to look at is discussing all aspects of society, whether it is social, emotional, spiritual, economical, political, cultural, everything we want to be looking at it and discussing it and having healthy, and arousing discussion.
You got permission from the Bishop Malzia to have the show?
I didn't write it.
You didn't write it?
Yes.
Because to me, it's unprecedented by St. Lucia standards to have a priest hosting a talk show and a controversial individual like yourself.
Well, probably in St. Lucia, I wouldn't say I'm controversial. I'm just straight to the point, and that's what it is, And I think when we look at the Catholic Church Universal, I just came from Portugal, where they hosted the World Youth Day activities for young people throughout the world, Catholic young people, and you had this priest on stage who's a DJ, and that's what he does as part of his ministry in bringing people to Christ through DJing. There was another group of young priests and seminarians, who rapping, and this kind of thing. So it is only St. Lucia or the Caribbean where we are a bit myopic in our outlook on what the priest should be doing and should not be doing.
So we believe that the typical priest should be confined to the walls of the church and just preaching to the converted.
Well, that is what we see it as most of the time. But, what did Jesus do? Jesus went on the periphery. He went out in the streets. He went to the bars. He went all over the place to bring people to experience God. Because the discussion on the various aspects of society, will be the foundation of that discussion will be from a Catholic social teaching perspective. What we call CST, and this is the official teaching of the church on social order, impacting on the dimensions of society, including economic and political. It is an essential part of the Catholic faith, and at the core of Catholic social teaching is the common good of the community. Now, most St. Lucians would have never heard of Catholic social teaching, because most of us, we do not speak about it, But again, when we look at, the Catholic social teaching, we look at areas of truth, freedom, justice, love, right across the board. And, I think, most of us, we don't discuss this thing in a frank manner. And I think, as a church, as a local church, as a Catholic church, it's a wonderful opportunity to bring people up to speed, and to have healthy discussion, respectable discussion on all levels.
Father Albert, one of the criticisms being leveled at the church is that it has lost its place in the society in terms of its influence and the leadership role that it has played over the last several decades. What say you to this?
I would say yes and no. One of the things, is that we depend heavily on missionaries. And, sometimes when somebody comes in, they're on contract for 3 years. So even before this person is able to sit and understand and to be able to make a meaningful contribution, the 3 years. For example, so for our Catholic school, where we have Catholic schools, the parish priest, automatically is the manager of the school. But we've lost that role, because people come, people are not even sure what is happening, and what we do with what I call maintenance work. So for the most part, you know, you have a priest who's coming from away, he would say mass, make sure confirmation happens, make sure baptism happens, but he's not integrally involved in the life of the parish, in the life of St. Lucia. For me, I see things differently. I'm born, bred in St. Lucia. I lived away for a few years while I was studying for the priesthood. You know, I lived in Grenada, I lived in Trinidad, I lived in Jamaica, and I lived in Rome. But I always kept in touch with what was happening on the ground. And I wanted to come back to make a difference, to be relevant and help the Catholic Church to be relevant here and now and today.
Certainly you have played your part. Finally, Father Albert, what format will the program take?
Well, I would be having guests at various times, but we will also have fun discussions, and we would be having persons calling in as well to make their contribution.
And the duration of the show?
From 6:30 to 8 p.m. every Thursday.
All right. Thank you so much, and all the best to you. I'll be listening.
Thank you very much.
All right. Just heard there from Father Albert. He is hosting, debuting his show. What's the name? What's the point? What the point? Yeah. And it starts 6:30 tomorrow evening right here on Power 97.9 FM. What's your point? The name of the show, to be hosted by Father Albert once again right here on 97.9 FM tomorrow evening, 6:30, and every Thursday evening. Let's continue with your calls. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin on the air.
Tim.
Hi, good afternoon to caller.
Somebody called a while ago in relation to work on employment and so on, right?
Yeah.
And you said to him that we've been complaining about unemployment since time immemorial. And I wondered if that might have gone a little further, you know, if that conversation might have gone a little further, time immemorial. It didn't, but obviously we still have that problem. You remember the days when Compton used to come, those were the 80s, when Compton used to complain that we could not continue to depend on fly-by-night, footloose in the streets.
Yes, I remember.
Those were his exact words. And the gentleman who called you earlier on talked a lot about Arthur Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody else, who was it who said, well, I don't know if it was Einstein, but somebody who said that you should not, I'm paraphrasing, you should not expect to have problems solved by the very minds that created those problems.
That's interesting.
You never heard that before?
Yes, I'm saying yes. I've heard it before. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, Tim, now, who has been responsible for employment, education? And before you answer that question, I want to remind you that John Compton in the 80s said what I'm about to say. Kenny in his time said it. Louise in his time said it. In fact, Lewis's was the most memorable for me, because he said the pathetic situation of our workforce, meaning so many people unemployed, the young especially, was indicative of a lousy education system, an education system that had a whole bunch of flaws, maybe not relevant to our existence, maybe it only trained people to skip town and get a job somewhere else. But the education system, he says, our work situation was reflective of our education system. And in fact, it was Compton who said, Von Lewis who said again, our workforce, our workforce does not, was it he who said that or Compton? But
it was Dr. Von Lewis.
Okay,
yeah.
Our workforce did not measure up to what the rest of the world calls menial work. Now, we're talking there about the 80s, Tim. My math ain't so good. How many years since the 80s, man?
You're talking about obviously more than 30 years.
And Tim, I want to keep on repeating, because we do not believe in looking back at the mirror, looking in the rearview mirror, because we don't like the ugliness we see there. But if we refuse to look back to see how we got to the horrible place that we are, because we all agree it is a horrible place we find ourselves in. I think we all agree. Forget what political thing you think, and forget this government or the previous. We have been in this growing uglier place a long, well, you just said over 30, almost 40 years.
Yeah.
It's been there, Tim, because we have all the comments by the important people acknowledging the horrible place we were in their time. And only recently, and our problems are linked, you know, Tim. There's not one you can separate from the other. They are linked. Kenny Anthony, I want to remind again, referring to crime, said that the several governments, all the administrations, regardless of color, had failed to bring crime even close to under control. And so we must look back and see what we did that was wrong, or what can be salvaged, or whatever. But how do you do that without everybody coming together, or without a team of carefully handpicked people? And by handpicked, I don't mean political affiliation. By that I mean education, track record, where you've worked, what you've done in your own life. Are you a teacher? Have you been living overseas? Because we can invite a few successful St. Lucians, if they have to be St. Lucians, from overseas to come and put in a couple ideas, you know. Arthur Lewis did not anticipate. He would have to be, well, what people call the Almighty. He would have to have been that, to have properly anticipated what we're going through. In his wildest dreams, he did not see politics as a place for politicians to come with their knees on the necks of the poorest of the poor and to get rich. He did not anticipate politicians after 5 years in office who came in almost as poor of the poor. It's a small town, we know these things. And suddenly they have mansions, or they can buy all kinds of stuff, and so on and so on. The bank did not consider them worthy. They wouldn't give them money for loans, etc. They've never run a business, Tim. And these are the people who hold power and sway in our country. Now, no experience in anything you can think of. You think Arthur Lewis ever envisaged we would be selling our passports for survival? You think anything in any of his writings, you saw anything like that?
No.
The answer is no.
No.
You think Arthur Lewis ever envisaged a hellish day when politicians look forward to signing deals with Saudis under the table, above the table? And I say that because I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. The Saudis are notorious. Okay? So if you don't explain everything, especially if you've been pushing for transparency and accountability and you're not doing it, you leave people room to speculate in the worst way. If we are going to ignore who and what the Saudis are, if we are going to ignore what the Chinese are doing in Africa and what other people have done in Africa, we're going to ignore that. And we leave people to speculate on whether what you're doing in the middle, in Saudi Arabia, etc., is quietly filling your pockets, because we have no checks and balances in this place, Tim. We have no checks and balances. Nobody has the gonads to. And if you do, if you criticize him, I have a tape of Richard Frederick that I think is very, very important, and I'm in agreement with him 101 times. The tape is, Richard Frederick is stating on that tape that you cannot talk to anybody on any serious debate without them cussing your mother or calling you names or whatever. What Richard Frederick says that on a tape that he didn't do it 100 years ago. It's a recent video. It is something, and depending on who says things, it gives it even more power. Richard Frederick, who I think is probably the heroes of the forest, or the poor, especially in Castries Central, he's on tape stating that you cannot have discussions, you cannot have any discussion of public matters without you being taken to the cleaners in terms of the nastiest things possible about you. If you're a woman, if you're a man, you're a thief, etc. And it's becoming the norm, as you pointed out, for ministers of government to stoop to name-calling of the worst kind. I mean, we always had little name-calling. George Odlum did his bit. In fact, not George Odlum did bit. George Odlum did some awful stuff with that, because he's the one who invented Tujusu.
Yes.
And I was being told, I was asking a question about...
The Chinese cabinet.
Your Chinese cabinet.
Tujusu, Fupman Tu, Limping.
Fukum Young.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was asking recently about Von Lewis, and the news I got was extremely depressing. And I remembered Compton's words to me, two things he regretted most in his political life. Two things, Tim. That he did not do enough for the young people of this country, and he gave the reasons why with regret. And he hoped to make up for that in the term. And last, he didn't last much longer. That was one. And the other was that he ever invited Von Lewis into politics. Now, if we're going to sit down and have a serious discussion on that, it might be worthy. But we don't have discussions in this place.
Why? It's because what he believed that Dr. Lewis was not cut out for politics?
Yeah, he said that. He said Dr. Lewis, and he also said that Lewis had a weakness. He saw opponents as enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know Von Lewis's life, and to hear the news about him now, and you know the details, the road he took to wherever he is right now, you know, there are so many lessons to be learned, but we're never going to put those lessons before our people. All we're going to put before them are opportunities to get on Facebook and write that. Tim, I cannot believe that even the people who have been getting a kick out of the nastiness on Facebook when it was new, I can't imagine they still feel that way, Tim. Because Facebook has become a toilet, open toilet, exposing the minds of St. Lucians, you know. You cannot figure that the minds writing those things or making lives are the minds who are also expected to move St. Lucia forward. When you hear your politicians talking and what they say and how they insult your sensitivities, your sensibilities, your intelligence, how can you also expect those people to have what it takes to move our country forward? How can you must be mad to do that? But that is what we have.
But Rick, now, we are doomed right now, eh? And just to pick
I have a good friend who likes, whenever he talks to me, and he says, "But Rick, what you're suggesting there is that we are doomed." And I say, "Yes, we are doomed, but." And he said, "What's the but?" She says, "Well, the possible remedies are there to at least ameliorate our disease, to ameliorate what afflicts us. But we know in advance nobody will prescribe it because it will cost votes, and nobody will take it. And everybody will come together and find everything wrong with those suggestions. And then, of course, we have the monster itself, the internet, which we can do nothing about. The internet, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So it's all well and good to hear people calling and suggesting and, you know, putting down things and what has been, and even for you to say we've had a long time and so, which is true, etc. But who and when will we sit down to discuss the possibility of an ease up, an amelioration? When are we going to have that discussion? I mean, I was very disappointed that the Prime Minister did not call Alan Chastain's bluff. If Alan Chastain is going to sit down, and you know Alan's own history with crime in the country and what he said and what happened in his time, and you know all of that, just as Alan knows what happened with the others. So you both know about one another. You want to tell me, if you ask for assistance and Alan Chastain makes some submissions, that you couldn't take it on and look good taking it on and maybe have an open discussion in the parliament, not parliament, a special sitting, like those Senate sittings?
Yeah.
You have Alan Chastain, you have your own people, you have other invited people, and maybe you can invite Alan Chastain to invite a couple others. Bring an Adrian Auger, bring Henny Clark, bring one of those guys. What's his name? Our friend who's now gone very quiet, the engineer.
Was that John Peters?
John Peters. And let the people, red and yellow, sit down and listen to those best brains making suggestions on their behalf, looking at the problems as they are, the things that are impossible for us to do. How are you going to tell people to tie your waist when you're getting fat as hell yourself and you're asking them to tie your waist and bear with you? You have to give them good reasons, Tim, why they should tie their waist and bear with you when you show them a possible future. I put it to you now, no politician has any idea of a reasonably possible future. All you're getting is Movelang and Mapui and encouraging the dumbest among us to participate in it. And for the worst, and for it to be disseminated around the world, and to have guys in the diaspora spreading it as well. The guys who are supposedly helping us from the diaspora because ostensibly they're smarter, they've had experience. Those guys are worse than the worst of us, you know, Tim. Spreading the garbage so that nobody is coming to any kind of solution. And the main factor in any kind of possible solution, you know what it is? We have to come together with one thought, that we all in deep doo-doo, and if we cannot all put on masks and try to get rid of that doo-doo, we will be the doo-doo of ourselves in the very near future. I could go on, but thanks for your time, Tim.
Thank you so much, Rick Wayne, for that contribution. Kimani, comments in the chat room. What's there to report?
Someone in the chat room says, I guess Richard Frederick was saying, do as I say, don't do what I do. Another comment, we really must raise the standard. Insults seem to be the norm in recent times. SMH. All one has to do is scroll through these chats. Someone says, Tim, invite Apple on your show one day. LOL. Will you be doing that, Tim?
Might be a good idea. Let's see. Let's brainstorm and see if it is worth doing.
Another comment, I'm looking forward to being an audience. It's about time we broaden our thinking. St. Lucia needs to hear from a man of the cloth. Hopefully the broadcast will challenge us in terms of our morals, values, and Christian responsibility. Someone says, Father Albert, can you say a prayer for Tim Kimani and NewsSpin?
We need that, you know. So many people want to see NewsSpin off the air. So many people want to see me off the air, off television, etc. You know, so I need all the prayers that you have out there.
Another comment, someone says, if we aren't careful, we will get beyond the point of return. Where is our conscience? In the chat room, Rick, the remedies are readily available but are suppressed by our politicians. They divide the people to remain in power. Someone says in the chat room, well, that's it, Tim.
All right. Thank you so much. The broadcast will continue in just a moment with more of your calls, your WhatsApp messages, and we have an interesting contribution that was made yesterday in the program. Just in case you were not listening yesterday, we'll play it when we come back in just a moment.
There is only one option when they arrive. Our services will make the dead look alive. With Bouteille and Beaufort accessibility. Remember, we have the only private cemetery. No one can match our prices from coffins to corsage. Personalized service you get when Lazarus take charge. Quality service, no package to make your wallet bleed. Lazarus is your true friend in your time of need.
To protect appliances from lightning, rain, and flood water damage, unplug them, then turn off the main switch. Lightning can produce electrical surges, which can damage equipment. Protect your electronics from water damage as well. Make sure you have flashlights, battery-powered radios, and extra fresh batteries available. Be smart, stay safe.
It all started with a penny. For over 85 years, we have invested in our farmers, fishermen, people, and our country. When we were called to serve, we were here. We understand what is valuable to our people and our country. That is why we support all industries, including tourism. We are the bridge towards a brighter future and economic growth. When our people, government, and businesses called upon us, we were here. 85 years later, First National Bank St. Lucia Limited is here for you.
Why pay full price for your mobile when you can pay half? Just bundle your home internet and mobile services with Flow and save 50% on your mobile bill. That's money in your pocket every month. Plus, now you get free YouTube and WhatsApp data. And you can share your plan with up to 3 other numbers. Upgrade now and get a free smartphone. Switch and keep your number. Learn more at discoverflow.co.
Get ready for the second annual Zouk a Blanc, presented to you by Project Chocolat, Saturday 30th September from 7 p.m. featuring St. Lucia's #1 band, DYP. The always exciting Ezra, the Fun Machine, and our finest DJ, Hollywood HP, and DJ Shocking. Savor an evening of elegance, souk, and old school rhythms in the heart of Soufrière at Project Chocolat. Secure your tickets for just $80. Grab yours at any sell outlets island-wide or at Mambo's Bar in Soufrière. Tickets are also available online. Zouk a Blanc, a touch of white, where island vibes and cuisine meets pure sophistication.
Admission $100 at the door.
The new home of the best country music is Power 97.9 FM.
Say the stars are bound to fade.
Switch us on Join Me, DJ Jerry, this and every Thursday from 8 p.m. to midnight for Country Gold, the best in country music.
Your bags are packed and waiting.
The new, the oldies, and the goldies. So let's make it a date. This and every Thursday with me, DJ Jerry, from 8 p.m. till midnight for Country Gold. If it's Thursday, it's Country Gold Thursday. Country Gold, only on Power 97.9 FM.
I lead a rich, rewarding life.
Automotive art is a place to start. Automotive art is a place to start.
Yeah, look, check. We got a wide range of products that are automotive and do-it-yourself supplies if you got a moment. Smart staff that'll always know it. Got rims and tires from trucks to high performance to off-roading. Start hair tools, batteries, oil, and car care.
Automotive art is a place to start.
Sub-message, we talk and talk about jobs and employment. But no government has really sought to develop new industries that can create careers rather than just the jobs. We focus on hotels and BPOs, but those really do not create enough careers over jobs. New industry around renewable energy, value-added production of niche goods, the marijuana industry, the creative and tech industries all can create careers if we put in the policies and frameworks necessary to foster this. I pray that one day we get a leader that is able to truly put our country and people above the trappings of political office. We have a call. Good afternoon, NewsSpin, you're on the air.
A pleasant good afternoon to you and your listeners all over the world. Timothy PW on the line, Timothy.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
I listened to a press conference with the Prime Minister, Timothy, and I am wondering why is the Prime Minister still campaigning, Timothy, after the general election. After being in office for about 2+ years, the Prime Minister still campaigning. He has 15 MPs. He then goes on and talk about the United Workers' Party. Is dividing the country. Is a party of destruction. I mean, what he had to say, he falls short of the United Workers' Party is planning a political coup. Because if he can say the United Workers' Party is dividing the police force, the destruction, division, and he goes on and says that the word short and tall is forbidden to say. And we all know, Timothy, he wasn't referring to a wall or a tree to call it short and tall. But he's trying to make these two words forbidden for him to say and other people to say. Timothy, the Prime Minister needs to know that a lot of people in this country has an IQ level above 86.5%, Timothy. And they will not take it. We need the Prime Minister to work for the benefit of solutions. Now, Timothy, yesterday I listened to the Mr. Herman Gill Francis, Timothy, and he said that he was very instrumental in having the police to work a 40 hours week, Timothy. Timothy, the police force is an essential services. That 40 hours doesn't work. The thieves are on duty 24/7. You cannot have officers just working a 40-hour week and just going home. They need to put, their feet to the job. This is an essential services. You have a 40-hour week, then you have no succession plan for the police officers. This is for police commissioner. This is a recipe for disaster. Then you have, as you know, Timothy, worldwide, the recruitment of police officers has diminished. And very few people that are capable and able to be good police officers will not be able to register and be a part of the Royal Solution Police Force. Because you know what? They realize there is turmoil in the police force at the moment. And I can tell you, the police need to take their work seriously. Too many crimes unsolved. When a crime happens, Timothy, you go in the police force, you go to ask for a particular police officer. You know what they tell you? He's out for the weekend. He's off duty. The other police officer that takes your message, he cannot continue to take information from you because he said this police officer has already started the case. The police need to put some more effort into their jobs. A lot of police officers are more interested in the moonlight jobs. A lot of them are more interested in the moonlight jobs and the bumps and draw jobs that they have outside the police force, are not interested in investigating crimes that affect the country. Timothy, there's too much of a backlog of cases. This government needs to wake up and do the right thing for the security of this country. I thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. WhatsApp message. An intruder came into my house and family on Monday evening, and I hope the police get that individual. This traumatized my family, particularly my daughter. He took some good blows with a fan by my wife while I pinned him, and he left with my children, school supplies and foodstuff, also electrical devices like tablet and cell phone and more. I had a cat claw cutlass, but I rushed to my wife's rescue. If I had taken this cutlass, Tim, you would have gotten top news that an intruder was killed with a cutlass by the owner of the house. We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You're on the air. Hello.
We have a call via. Good afternoon. Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Tim.
Good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, and you?
I'm okay. What's in your mind?
Well, it's been a while. I call in and I'm not getting through, so I end up getting through now. And what I want to say today, that from last year, farmers get a lot of hit by rain and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, we had our claims, things go inside a day, and up to a day like today, we never hear anything. You check in, you not hearing anything. And when fertilizer was more expensive for how many years as a farmer, I never see but the fertilizer is so expensive. A small bag of fertilizer I used to buy it for $40 something. We buy it for $100 and something, and at the end of the day, we lose everything, and we have our claim inside that day, and we're not getting anything, Mr. Tim.
So
we're not getting anything.
Have you communicated this to the Ministry of Agricultural officials?
Yes, Mr. Tim, because everything is inside already.
Mm-hmm.
All information inside already. And what they like today, we can't hear nothing. We cannot. When we call, they say they don't have nothing yet. They don't even know. And I just hear the Ministry of Agriculture said that they get some fertilizer from Morocco. I was watching on the news and stuff like that. Vegetable farmers get hit last year and even this year too. And at the end of the day, they help the farmers that get hit by the storm.
Brett?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where they will give them fertilizer, they'll give them something. But up to what they like today, like from last year, we get hit, and plus the trough we have November 6 mess up everything farmers had. And we was buying fertilizer for $100 and something, and up to a day like today, we cannot hear anything, we cannot get anything. At least give us a little help. Give us something, at least give us help. At least what I'm saying, at least it can be ceased to sow back and stuff like that. But we are getting nothing, we are hearing nothing. And we have to go back and spend all the money. The little that we're making, we go in back and spend it. And we are getting nothing for that. And all our claim is inside of there. So why? I don't know why. I don't know why they are doing nothing. They have to check us. At least check farmers. And when you do whatever that you do, when you go and sell it, at the end of the day, people giving you the price, you go in and buy whatever you buying for the price, chemical and whatever. When you go and sell, is they that giving you what they want for it and stuff like that. And it's not good, man. Government have to check on farmers, man. They have to check on farmers. It's not nice, man. And we for me, it's hard. And I take good block already. So at the end of the day, I just wanted you and people to know what's going on. It's so not anything like...
where do you have your farm, caller?
Yeah, I have my farm in Moshi, Labon area.
All right.
Yeah, man. I have my farm up there. And
good
block.
Take your
good.
Take your concerns to your MP as well.
No, you cannot go to the MP. I have to go to the Minister of Agriculture. What's his name?
Mr. Prosper, Alfred Prosper.
Prosper, yes.
But what I'm saying to you, caller, if a sufficient number of farmers, let's say from your community, you approach your MP, I'm sure that there are days when you could visit his constituency. You could speak with your MP, and I'm sure that he will be able to represent your interests. That's what he's there for. He'll be able to speak with his colleague, cabinet minister, And maybe through his intervention, you can get some kind of reprieve.
Yeah, all that is true.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's not he that in charge of them things,
Right.
team.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not he that in charge of them things. But I can still check what you said that is a good thing. But I can still check on him. But you know, the Minister of Agriculture can at least help farmers that thing. You know, because as they're telling us that they want the import bill to come down.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, we working hard. We buying all the things expensive, fertilizers and stuff like that. Team, you understand?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we do not do anything. So at the end of the day, help us to bring down the import bill. You understand where I'm coming from?
I'm getting your point, sir.
Yeah. But they have to help us. They have to help us. And from last year and all now, we can't get nothing yet. I'm not into politics thing. I just want the government to help us to feed our country.
Okay. We hope that will not be falling on deaf ears, sir. And here's hoping that the Minister of Agriculture, the authorities, those who are responsible, will provide you and the other farmers with some kind of assistance. Thank you so much for calling, sir.
Thank you, man.
All right. Let us hear from that interesting contribution that was made, that interesting caller. He made a contribution on NewsSpin yesterday. Thought I would just replay it today.
The people have their problems, they go to court. No regress. None whatsoever. Okay? So what do you think the people will do? They'll take the law into their hands. They'll always have revenge shooting. Look at what happened just recently in St. Vincent. Right? You don't know they'll have a repercussion to that? Guns shooting all the time in Beaufort, like it's going out of style. Then you have the next problem with the 2% levy you try and put in there. When that comes, there will be more stress in this place. Right now, the temperature, there's a tight temperature in the land right now. You understand? You can step on somebody's toe and they tell them quickly sorry because you might get a chop, a shot, or stab.
People are on edge.
You understand? People are on edge. I mean, what more is this? You have to see. Well, forget about the hacks because they're like ostriches with their head in the sun. And you know what exposed when their head in the sun? They're red. You understand? People looking for work. When they do get the work, they're willing to work for nothing because they have no choice. Then they still have to avert to all kind of criminal things to help them pay their bills. You understand? When you have jobs for the boys. You think the people blind? The majority of them, they're just afraid to talk because they know they might have repercussions. And not might, there will be repercussions. Then you talk about to help the police. How you helping the police? You don't have a proper protection thing in place like overseas in states and in place. Nobody will come forward because they know when they have to come forward, they have to uproot their whole self from their family. You understand? I mean, watching the movies, you could see how people treat the police, go through, not the police, the gang members, and bring them to justice. You go in and holding a little two little mongrels on the road. You know, you have to infiltrate the system, see who they are, you know, and let them go as bait and then catch the bigger guys. And that's common sense. Then you have this other guy there. You have a black cloud over in there of sexual affairs. They bring back the lady in. You know, it's a back and forth. Nothing. There's no continuance. That's all.
Part of a contribution made by that caller yesterday on our broadcast. This is NewsSpin right here on Power 97.9 FM. We are also on YouTube and our NewsSpin Facebook page. Kimani, what is happening in the chat room?
Speaking to the previous caller, the farmer, someone says, Caller Kenson was elected to assist you, not any ministry. Another comment in the chat room, someone says, your rep is likely to see the agriculture minister faster than you, so go to your rep. Another comment, Tim, the country is in learning mode. When you move something and can't get a better replacement is noise and hate. We will learn unless one can show they are capable of doing things before they get into government. Expect nothing greater. Another comment, I expect our various leaders to lead by example. Some have an irresponsible attitude towards their leadership.
We have a call via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. This is NewsSpin. You are on the air.
Yes, good afternoon, Tim. I hope you can hear me very well.
Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, so this is Dominic Fede. Tim, as I listen to your show day after day, it is clear to me from the feedback from various callers to your show that we are in a lot of trouble in St. Lucia. Tim, but I called to speak more specifically about the tourism industry and recent attempts by the powers that be to try to pretend as if all was well and that the tourism industry was doing magnificently. Tim, we are in the traditional low season of the industry, and if we had to compare the figures last year as it pertains to this year, you would see that there is a significant decline. In fact, the SLTA's own report suggests that from January to July, the destination has actually regressed by 92,000 visitors, which is a significant decline. The U.S. market, which is our main market, has declined July versus July by 34%. Now, why is this important? It's important because, Tim, while we were in government, Liat already had its problems. And the Canadian market had a certain level of conservativeness as it relates to their COVID protocols. So it was difficult to do business in the Caribbean and to do business in Canada. What we then thought we had to compensate for the fallout from Canada and the Caribbean. And we set about to get into a period of unprecedented growth within the tourism industry so that the U.S. market would compensate for the difficulties you would face in the other markets. That's why we had, for the first time in history, we had a flight out of Chicago. We had a flight out of Dallas, Texas. We had a second Miami flight. And after 27 years of no service out of New York, we had American Airlines resuming out of JFK. At New Jersey, for the first time in history of destination management in the country, we had New Jersey out of JetBlue. JetBlue out of New Jersey, Newark. Now, that is a significant addition to our airlift. All of these flights that I've just listed are new flights which we negotiated while we sat at the helm of the government. It is very regrettable, Tim, that today all of these flights have disappeared. So what we have seen is that while the government is focusing on jazz and carnival and telling you that we're doing so well, we have seen a significant decline in the airlift by about 34% of actual seat capacity to the destination. Now, the government has just put out a statement suggesting that they grew the airlift capacity by 7%. But I want to say to the tourism officials and the leaders, and perhaps more specifically to the minister, that we have regressed so far that 7% is inadequate. And as a result of that, we have hotels with very low occupancies. Those that are ashamed to say that the occupancies are low have actually closed for ostensible or presumed renovations. Now, what does this mean for jobs? What does this mean for farmers? I heard a farmer call you, and he was complaining about the lack of monies from the government or support. It becomes worse for the farming sector when you have your tourism industry that is struggling the way that ours is struggling. 34% down in the US market, 30% down, 20% down in the UK market, the two main markets. This spells disaster for the economy. It spells disaster for the workers of the industry. It spells disaster for the vendors and the taxi drivers. Tim, We haven't had a cruise ship since May. 0 cruise ships in June, 0 cruise ships in July. This is unprecedented. This is a total mismanagement of our lead economic earner. You go to Point Seraphin and there are 0 trips for the drivers there. There are 0 trips at La Place Carénage. And to make matters worse, and to add to the uncertainty for the drivers, they have now been told that their long-standing contracts with the administration have now been cancelled, and they have got to now face Global Ports, the new operator of the port, for a new contractual arrangement. Well, I think one has to wonder what those contracts are going to look like. So what we see here, Tim, this is a very, very, very grave situation that is only going to add to the many problems that we face. You would recall at budget time that tourism and construction have been the 2 lead drivers of the economy. And with tourism regressing as badly as it has, it tells you, Tim, that our country is in deep trouble. It tells you that the economy is going to get worse before it gets better. As we track the weekly inward passenger flow to the destination via SLASPA, we see that there is a significant decline when compared to last year, if we look at August and projected numbers for September. So really, it's been the worst summer that we've had, and it's going to take the government some time to recover. The desperate statement by the government to say that they have recovered 7% of the airlift capacity means that we are still about 26% short of where we should be. So a significant mismanagement and a significant void in the air seats. You know, St. Lucia is ranked as the world's leading honeymoon destination, Tim. And we've had a whole summer of weddings and honeymooners traveling to various parts of the world. And they can't get to St. Lucia. That was just voted the leading honeymoon destination in the Caribbean in the middle of the honeymoon season. So something has certainly gone awry. This government has really mismanaged things, and it really is going to add significant pressure on the economic fortunes of the country. Tim, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you so much for calling, sir. Former Tourism Minister Dominic Fady. Finally from us, we have our NewsSpin news of the day. Air Canada kicks off passengers who refused vomit-stained seats. Air Canada kicks off passengers who refused vomit-stained seats. Our NewsSpin news of the day as well, our broadcast. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube, on our NewsSpin Facebook page, and thank you as well for listening on Power 97.9 FM. My name is Timothy Poleon. Goodbye.